is a combination of DNA and some proteins to help organize it. Most of the time, DNA just exists in the nucleus, loosely associated with proteins like this, and we call it chromatin. Okay? If you had your DNA tightly packed like this in a chromosome, you wouldn't be able to use it, right? It's like putting all your clothes in a suitcase. You can't use them, but if you've got them spread out all over the bedroom floor, you can find them, right? So you need to be able to have them unpacked, so to speak, to be able to use it. So this is kind of, we have this misconception that DNA looks like these chromosomes all the time in a cell, but it doesn't at all. It's only when we need to divide because I need to pick it up and carry it around. Okay? Most of the time it's loosely associated with proteins like this. Still would be called a chromosome, but it's not a tightly packed chromosome like this. Now, somewhere in all of this, right, you have to realize that in every, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but in every cell in your body, in the nucleus, there is about 2 meters of DNA. So that's this much DNA. It's also, that's then kind of, and this is another story for another day, but how do you package that all into something like this that can fit inside of the nucleus? That's a different story. But 2 meters of DNA. So somewhere on that 2 meters of DNA are all of these genes that we want, right, that code for the production of something. Now, the specific location where the gene is that we want to study, let's like say we want to study that one or express that one right there. So somewhere embedded in this 6 feet of DNA is a little tiny segment that would produce collagen. Okay. It's not collagen, it's just a piece of DNA, but if it is expressed in the proper way, it would produce collagen, let's say, or hemoglobin or something like that. That location where that gene is on this chromosome is called a locus. Okay, so the locus is a location. So it's where I would go look to find this piece of DNA. Okay, that's the locus. So the locus is a location. It's the location of a gene. Okay? So we can define a gene simply as a piece of DNA that codes for a product. Okay? So it's a piece of DNA that you can make something out of. Okay? And you don't make it out of the DNA, you use the information in the DNA to help you build this product. So they call it the blueprint, right? It's the instruction manual. It's not that you take that piece of DNA, rearrange it, and get a protein. It's that you look at that piece of DNA, and you have other organelles and molecules in the cell that can take that, and from that assemble a polypeptide of amino acids, right, that would fold and become a protein. So this, you know, how many genes a human has, that number is always changing as we discover more. The estimates are probably somewhere around 150,000 or so unique pieces of DNA that produce unique products. Obviously, as we study this and develop tools to study this more completely, we discover that there are other functions of DNA that maybe are involved in doing things where you don't actually produce a product that does something, but it might be regulating something or what else. So we know that there's a lot more function to this. So we want to take these pieces of DNA that are called genes, and we want to use these genes and we want to express them to produce a protein. Some of these proteins could fold in the right way, get the right shape, right, to become an enzyme. Now that process of gene expression, if you will, has been termed the central dogma